How you doing, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I hope everyone is doing well today. Shout out to all the subscribers. Gratitude to anyone new. This video today, we're going to be talking about Opetaia'S punch technique from a scientific angle. Okay, we are going to be going deep in this video. We're going to be talking about Newton's cradle, kinetic chain, transferring weight, punch technique, sitting down on your punches, punching through the target, keeping opponents at the end of your punch. These are all boxing terms, scientific terms that I'm going to bring into you. We're going to talk a bunch of stuff about other sports as well and how it pertains to boxing, like rugby, like golf, baseball. Kinetic chain is prevalent in all these sports, and it has such a close proximity to how punches are delivered. In essence, it's the exact same kinetic chain that you deliver, which is an energy and a force, how you harness it through your body with good technique through different areas, starting from the foot to the end of the fist to your opponent's face. So it's going to be a deep one today. I'm going to do two parts. This is going to be part one. So let's go.
Boxing.
Alright, so that intro music is a piece of music I made for this project coming up called Samoan Power. I've talked about that a lot, still doing it, but I wanted to do this video just to give myself a bit of time because that's quite a deep project. But I've spoken about that. I'll talk a bit more about it at the end. It's coming along nicely. I just need a bit more time. But in this video, let's get straight into it because I am so passionate about talking about punching, particularly pertaining to scientific, aspects. And disclaimer, I'm not a sports scientist or a nutritionist or any of that. I've just been an avid fan, just picking up a lot of details on the way. As I boxed in the amateurs a little bit, but I was like always picking people's brains about punching, and I've taught a few people, and I've just gathered all the information I possibly can. And it is a beautiful subject, and power is actually a mystery. We're going to talk about power, but this is going to be a full compass technique, all of it. So let's start with the kinetic chain, right? And what is it? It is basically an energy, right, that flows through your body that you have to harness in order to get, better technique, essentially. It's like it starts in the foot, and it can. I'll bring in other sports to show you, but this image I'm about to show you is a great example, and this is from National Geographic. So I just stole their video. Thank you. I'll leave the link in the description. But if you can see here where the energy starts, right, that little ball of energy going up through the body, that is the energy, right? And it's how you harness it through the muscle groups, okay? So starting in the foot, obviously you need to press down a little bit to get the energy going. And as I'm talking too, I'm going to show you clips from Opetai'a where he sits down on his punches, or he uses the chain extremely well because his technique and his balance, and it is one of the most important things in boxing.
If you look at this clip I'm showing you, where the kinetic chain starts in Opetaia'S back foot, this is where the energy starts and it travels through his body. But because his balance and his technique and his shape is so good, the chain is allowed to flow through easier and more efficiently through to the top half of his body, straight to the end of his fist. Beautiful.
If you don't have good balance, you can't really throw a good punch. If you don't have good balance, you can't really defend yourself properly. Let's be honest. If your balance is off, you're done. So basically, his balance is supreme. He's never out of position, right? And it allows his kinetic chain to transfer through and perform beautifully. And if you look at this clip here right now with Jordan Thompson, I always bring up Jordan Thompson, poor guy. This shot he nailed Jordan Thompson with is an amazing example of, we're going to talk about sitting down on your punches, which I mentioned in the intro, but kinetic chain starts. If you look here where he's about to come in with where he has that ballerina footwork, which I mentioned before, and he puts his foot on the outside, which is what southpaws do. That's to get the angle with the backhand. He sits down on his shot. I'm a little sweaty, man. I just came back for a run, so excuse me. I also get like really excited when I'm talking about punching, but he sits down on the shot. You can see his foot is flat footed, right? And that is using the energy and the ground. The relationship you have with the ground as a boxer is very important. You should look at the ground as your friend. I know it sounds a little cheesy and a little weird, but the ground is so important, especially when it comes to power, because that's where you generate that spring upwards, right? That's where the kinetic chain really bites and it comes up and springs up and flows through his abdominal muscles all the way through to the trapeze, deltoids, all of the back muscles straight through to the arm. And if you notice, his arm is fully extended, okay? This is called keeping your opponent at the end of your punch, meaning full reach like that, perfect technique. He's not out of position either, meaning he's not leaning in like that, right? He's just right here, bang, and it is just like a massive shot. I'm surprised Jordan Thompson didn't get knocked out from that, to be honest. This clip here with Bradis, he actually uses the kinetic chain twice, and if you look at this here, he leads with his favorite punch, which is his lead uppercut. He's spoken about that before. He throws it a lot. It's a beautiful shot, but he leads right there. You can see again his right foot is right bang on the ground like that, biting the ground and shooting up and bringing the energy up, bringing that kinetic chain up, that force up, and how you harness it after that is good technique.
Here, Opetaia'S front foot is pressing down on the ground. This initiates the kinetic chain, comes up throh his body, misses the uppercut, but then you can see it shoots back down, and his back leg has the faintest of twists, which pushes the kinetic chain back up his body and helps him with the technique for that backhand. Beautiful stuff.
Now, and I'll quickly talk about how he doubles up. See if his back leg, how he'll as he goes to throw that uppercut, right? He'll turn that back foot again. That's the kinetic chain coming back down and comes back again. So he's harnessing it. It's this energy flowing through your body constantly. Now, Newton's cradle. You know, the ball thing, I've made a joke about this in the past. It's probably a really bad Christmas present that someone gives you that you're like, oh yeah, great, thanks. I probably won't open that. Or you know the science, those ball things. I'll pull up a clip. This is so important to understand from if you are a boxer, or even if you're not, just to how the energy is brought through. Because if that Newton's cradle, if the balls are a little bit off, right?
If there's too much space between the balls or they collide at different angles, energy is lost.
And they clatter on the side, meaning your technique is a little bit off, maybe your foot's a little to the side, your balance isn't good, then the cradle doesn't run through properly. But if it is, that cradle hits the fourth one, right? And that the middle balls in the middle, 2 to 5, that's the middle part of your body, and that's the transferring all the energy through. And the fifth ball, or the sixth, or however many on there, is the end and your opponent. That's the transfer of weight. That's how it goes through. Now, back to, I want to talk about other sports too, how it pertains to, you know, I talked about rugby. Really, it's the kicker. If you watch a rugby kicker, and it could be to passing too, right? If you're passing a rugby ball, you wouldn't pass it out here and do that, because you wouldn't have your base and your energy under you. You would chuck it like that. I haven't played rugby, to be honest with you, so I don't want to get out my depth. But you look at a kicker, and this is the same for you know, when you see that left foot, and it could be with tennis too, right? If you're going in for whatever it is, a return, and that lead leg is there, you're biting down on it, and boom, you come back up like that. It's the same with boxing, same with baseball pitching like that, same with golf. In fact, Rory McIlroy had a tremendous technique actually, and he had some very extraordinary hip movement was studied. I watched a bunch of scientific I've been watching them all day actually just to get a bit more ideas, but I was like, wow, he really turns his hips. Okay, hip movement is part of techniques, part of boxing. It's turning your whole shoulders, turning that hips, technique, abdominals, kinetic chain. That's where you get the full force. and he really kind of mystified some scientists with his hip movement.
Rory's got that beautiful tempo, but as he comes through impact, all of a sudden something very different happens, which makes a lot of us sports science guys look at this and go, wow, what's going on there?
And it's the same thing in boxing. If you look at Opetai'a, the way he turns his shoulder, or where he puts his shoulders back here, lead shoulder here, and his shoulder ends there, right?
If you look at Opetaia'S shoulders, as he leads with that uppercut, it goes forward. His back shoulder is almost in a direct line. This is helping with the connect chain from his backhand, and as he travels through, he puts his whole shoulder and weight through the shot. How on earth Bradis didn't go down from that, I will never know. Amazing technique.
That is getting maximum force all the way through, giving a freer room for the connect chain to travel through, right? That's like going back to Bruce Lee, and I've mentioned him before. The reason why he was able to do that, one of the many reasons, if you look, he'll push off his back foot, right? That's the energy starts like that, bam! But the reason why is because he's lined up like that, right? He's in a direct line, which gives the connect chain a free pass, not free, that's the wrong word, a direct line straight through.
Check out how he aligns his body. His hips and shoulders are turned, which creates a direct path from his back foot into his target.
Fascinating stuff, really is. It really is. I could go on for hours and hours about science and stuff like that. I've got loads more to add to this, but I wanted to talk about different stuff in two-part series, really, because I just love talking about this. But Opetai'a, he's never out of position, and not to mention, look, his power is God-given. He's a very powerful man, but he gets the best out of himself and he pushes his like skills to the limit. He's constantly, you know, in the gym. He's getting bigger and bigger and stronger. You look at the size of his back. I've talked about that. His back is getting so much bigger. He looks tighter, and he's always putting these shots. He's putting a lot of effort into these shots too. If you listen to him, he's like, ooh, jab, making these noises. That's like over committing to power. Really committing to power. And you know, as I said, he sits down on his shots. He turns the punches over. He let me just check my notes because I don't want to miss anything. Because momentum and transfer of weight. Momentum, transferring of weight is that connect chain, and that is basically just how you shift the power and the energy through. And actually, Naoya Inoue is great at doing this too. And I'll show you a quick clip of the shot where he's lined up like this, and the transfer of weight is just coming through like that, and his shoulder turns the punch over right onto the opponent's head. And Opetai'a does that really well, especially against Thompson. He doesn't always turn his punches over Opetai'a, but like neither does Usyk and Bivol, and they all have kind of similar styles. Obviously, Opetai'S way more aggressive than them, way more powerful, but man, I'm really hot in it. I just came back from a run, and I was like, I've got to go out in a bit, and I was like, let me shoot this video quickly. So, but I've got a bunch of other stuff. I'll let you know what's coming up in the next video, right? We're going to talk about, I don't know what it is. White matter, right? I just learned about that today. That is basically to do with it's like a nerve in the brain that creates the information that allows the timing. So I'm going to do a lot more research on that. Give me about a week on this one, and I'll do part 2 because we're going to talk about biomechanics too. I want to shout out a channel, Outmatch Boxing, actually. Great channel. He delves into biomechanics very well. I'll leave the link up here and that in the description for him. And we're going to talk about torque as well, hip rotation and torque. Torque is just this turning, you know, just like the beautiful energy that you get creating. Opetaia'S torque is beautiful, and his balance, everything's on point, and it just creates an awesome, he gets the best out of his power. But I gotta go, man. I'm like really like sweating in here. It's really hot. But look, I appreciate anyone that's tuned in. Thank you very much. Samoan Power, be on the lookout for that. Give me about a week or 2. Grateful for anyone that made it this far. Truly am. Thank you very much for anyone that's new. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the like button. I'm not going to talk about Samoan Power right now because I've already talked about it. But basically, it's a really beautiful project encompassing Samoan culture as much as I can from the outside, respectfully, and tying it in with Opetai'a, tying it in with music, creativity, passion, imagination, and basically a big part of what the channel is about. Art and not so much science in this video, but I always try and cover one of the 3, if not all 3. Anyway, that is it. I've got to go and get a towel and dry off. But thank you very much. Peace. I'm out.
Boxing.
On it.